Good morning, fellow traders. Bubblehead here. It's time for the Good Morning Market Prep for Friday, February 28, 2020. I hope everybody had a great night last night. This is brought to you by Positive Trends Research, and everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome. All right, well, let's take a look and see where we left off with the market yesterday. So here's the weekly chart. So it's one of the longest, the biggest ranged red weeks we've seen ever, and we closed below, or we're closing below the 30 weekly moving average, which is definitely a change of composure based on our analysis of profiting in bull and bear markets. And so we can see here. Let's see if where we close this week. Right now, the futures are down about 20 points. We'll take a look at those in a second, and see, if they continue this gap down and continue to push it down, it's definitely showing some very bearish behavior, obviously. And as the market continues to attempt to price in this the coronavirus ramification. So if we look here on the daily chart, it wasn't this projection down wasn't an anomaly to us, right? We had our upward trend lines got broken, right? We had our trend box right here. We closed below it this day, right? And if you go to the SPY, right, on this day, you can see what the volume was when we started to break down to those trend lines, right? So it was very, very significant right here on this day. You can see we had a major increase of volume, right, which projected a move downward, right? So we could see here we had that nice gap down, and then we continue to increase volume as we had weaker candles and break down below more downward trend lines. So if we go back to SPX, right, you can see we had this intermediate trend line right here, which we broke down. We had a fresh trend box right here, another breakdown candle right here. Then we broke down again. Then we had a fresh trend box right here off of the macro trend line. Broke down below it again yesterday, also below the 200-day moving average. And now we're seeing S&P futures down this morning. So let's take a look here and see where the futures are at. Okay, so you see we have this downward trend line from last night. And as of now, we are working on a trend box right now as we try to get above this upward trend line here this morning. So let's see if we can get above that and try to climb its way back up. If not, and it gets back below the downward trend line here, look out below. We have some work ahead of us, right, in terms of trying to claw out of here. So don't try to beat the trend, right? I mean, at this point, we're clearly seeing a trend change. So we've switched in our group to from bullish to bearish mindset and are doing quite well on the short side too. So if you guys aren't having fun in the market here, one way or the other, definitely consider joining our group. The links are in the description, and join a great group of traders as we stay on top of the market. We got a newsletter coming out this weekend and all that awesome fun stuff too. So we'd love to have you. Okay, so anyways, S&P futures again trying to work their way out of the trend box here. So let's take a look and see what we have going on this morning. Let's look at some of the big names. Of course, Tesla's down another 20 points too, so it's normally this is one that can go inverse of the market, but it's struggling to kind of hold its own right now with no fresh news after this epic run up right here. So we have this big gap that we were dealing with right here yesterday. We held it slightly, and we may be gapping to the bottom of that gap, and at which point we may see a reversal of the upside to fill it to the upside. So we'll see if any strength comes in here from the bulls today. We also have Beyond. Beyond had earnings last night, so it basically, I think it had an earnings miss and a revenue beat, and then they just didn't really help after their conference call yesterday. It's getting a little bit of a bounce this morning, so look for a potential bounce today on Beyond if it wants to get any follow through on that. TTD, okay, they had a pretty decent earnings report, but nothing major that's going to really kind of look and be like, okay, this thing's really going to gap and go today, right? It needed to get over that 323 level to really turn into a gap and go. So basically all it's doing is holding the 200-day moving average right now. ADSK, another interesting one for this morning. So inside day down yesterday with a nasty upper shadow. We saw a lot of these yesterday. They did have earnings, and from there are still below the 15 orb from yesterday. So let's see if that gets any more follow through to the downside, especially off of yesterday's nasty candle. Triple M, some keep an eye on here. So kind of a Corona stock. They've been slated as kind of the main makers of some masks here of the big companies, but again they're still having a lot of trouble right here as perhaps a lot of it's a huge company, so some of their other segments could definitely be affected by the coronavirus, and their operations could be affected. So it's the ones that specialize in these type of things that could be something to look at here. So iBio is one. It's a penny stock here. It trades about the price of actually less than the price of some of the options that we trade, but it had a huge day yesterday and could be working its way up. And then finally APT, Alpha Pro Tech. This thing is huge. This one doesn't have options on it either, but it has really had an epic run up too. So kind of keep an eye on these ones, and I hope everybody has a great Friday. So remember today's expiration day. So just to consider, if you're a weekly trader, consider trading next week's options. And I hope everybody has a wonderful trading day today. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon.